Have you ever wondered about the ancient forces that governed the cycles of life, power, and fertility? Step into the mystical realm of Celtic mythology, and you'll encounter Cernunnos, the enigmatic horned god, revered for his influence over nature and the mysteries of existence. Cernunnos was the Gaelic deity of creatures and the wild. Cernunnos, also known as the Horned One, was a mediator between man and nature, capable of taming predator and prey so they may lie down together. His original mythology has been lost to history, hence he remains a mystery deity. Cernunnos himself appeared predominantly in ancient Gaul, although comparable figures have been discovered all across the world, including in other Celtic territories. Cernunnos was a Gaelic term that meant horned or horned one. The name's derivation is shared with related nouns throughout the Celtic realm, including various Gallo-Roman cognates. The word cern was used meaning horned in several Indo-European languages, including Greek corn, the word unicorn, alluding to the one-horned horse-like creature, and various Latin taxonomy words for antlered creatures. Cernunnos has become a moniker employed in modern academia for various Celtic horned gods whose names have been lost to history. Outside of Gaul, there is scant indication that the name Cernunnos was used. Nonetheless, scholarly and religious academics have embraced the appellation as a catch-all for Celtic horned gods as well as horned deities from as far away as India. Other titles have been given to Cernunnos over time, especially by modern neo-pagans such as Lord of the Wilds or God of Wild Places. Such titles have no historical history but have become popular with the growth of neo-pagan practices. Cernunnos is hardly recognized since nearly little was written about him. He was a deity of the wilderness, and he frequently appeared as a bearded man with antlers. Some researchers believe his name and attributes were derived from a variety of horned gods who were then combined. Others have hypothesized that Cernunnos's characteristics were influenced by Greco-Roman deities of comparable appearance. In any event, keep in mind that these gods were not necessarily the same entity, but rather arose from comparable cultural foundations. Cernunnos was a wild god who reigned over untainted nature and uncivilized practices. His subjects were animals, and his bounty was free-growing fruits and vegetables. Classical images of the god featured herds of elk, wolves, snakes, and aurochs. Cernunnos' ability to bring natural foes into peaceful communion with one another made such meetings feasible. Cernunnos' abilities may have positioned him as a protector and provider among rural tribes and hunters. Cernunnos too might have been a fertility or life deity. In several classical communities, the natural world was seen to be the source of all life. The deity of the wilds, according to this scheme, would also be a god of life, creation, and fertility. Cernunnos was frequently depicted wearing a torc, a metal Celtic necklace. In some images, he just clutches one, and in others he wears them around his neck or as antlers. Cernunnos has been linked by some historians to oak trees, which were important symbols in Celtic literature and Druidry. Cernunnos had a particularly active second life in the 19th century, during a period when spiritual movements trying to resurrect pre-Christian European beliefs were prominent. The deity was heavily featured in Margaret Murray's The God of the Witches, as the incarnation of horned deities. The text asserted that Cernunnos was the god of witches before Christianity, and that his devotion remained in secret pockets throughout Europe when Christianity expanded. Despite the book's flawed nature and many assumptions, especially about Cernunnos, it did reintroduce the horned god to the public spotlight. Cernunnos, the horned god of neo-pagan faiths, is the master of both life and death. He becomes old with each passing year before being resurrected and beginning the cycle all over again. He coexists with the divine feminine, the goddess, who is both mother and lover. His strength is derived from her in many religions. Cernunnos' neo-pagan features may not always represent his pre-Christian qualities. Cernunnos was a very enigmatic divinity. His name occurred just once in historical documents, and none of his stories survived the ages. Despite this, modern researchers and neo-pagans have linked a number of stories to the horned god. Cernunnos appears just once on the Pillar of the Boatman. The pillar, which was carved in Paris probably during the 1st century CE, featured a variety of Roman and Gaelic gods, including Cernunnos. Cernunnos' torcs are draped around his antlers rather than his neck or hands in this portrayal. While it is unclear which tribes worshipped Cernunnos, it is apparent that horned gods were popular across the Celtic globe. Cernunnos' most renowned picture, which may or may not be of him, was discovered on the Danish Gundestrup cauldron. Due to the art style and metallurgical processes necessary to manufacture it, the cauldron was thought to have originated around Greece, possibly in Gaul or Thrace, in the 1st century BCE. The horned god pictured on the cauldron resembled those seen on Celtic stones, monuments and writings from the early Christian period. Cernunnos may be derived from Conach Cernach, a figure from the Ulster cycle. Conach Cernach's name may have simply meant triumphant, but it might also have meant angular or cornered, given its similar derivation to Cernunnos. However, there were few parallels between the characters, and their names may have been associated by accident. Cernunnos is a famous character in contemporary art, albeit his appearances are frequently associated with neo-pagan conceptions of the god rather than his Celtic beginnings. Cernunnos occurs frequently in neo-pagan literature as well.